the regulation that came after the crisis is that certainly isn't up to date with the blockchain. And if I can sort of focus the question, how much of the regulation right now is shaped by or influenced by the technology rather than sort of following up?
I think the second question first. Again, speaking from some experience that we've had in working with the Indian regulator on regulating mobile financial services. I think there is, as fintech disruptors, so to speak, I think there is an education responsibility to work with the regulator to make the regulator understand what the technology actually does. Because in the end, starting from Roman times to today, all financial services revolves around who is buying what from whom, and does this person have a bona fide purpose to doing what he is doing. And if I need to find out why the person did it post facto, do I have enough of an audit trail to find out who this person is? So these basic questions are then boiled down to how they can be met by whatever technology or whatever disruptive play that the fintech company is bringing. Now, regulators are not the same because human capital is not the same the world around. Obviously, in the United States, you take a look at Canada, for instance, who puts the United States to shame in terms of how the regulator embraces technology. But you take the UK, you take the European Union, you take countries like India, for instance, who understand these things and do the best that they can. But there are regulators in other countries who have kind of fallen behind the times, and I think that's, frankly speaking, entirely due to the human capital that exists in those regulators, function of vested interest, how powerful are the institutions, et cetera, et cetera. 20 years ago, I helped set up the Philippine Central Depository in Manila, and at that time, I used to marvel at how advanced the Philippines was in relation to India in terms of basic financial infrastructure. Now, we are about to go live in the Philippines, so I go to Manila a lot, and all I can hear is statements of envy from the Filipinos about where India was in 1995 and where the Philippines was and where India is in 2015 and where the Philippines is. It is a very different thing. It is entirely to do with human capital. On blockchain, again, I'll put this out there, I think, in my view, there's a lot of hype around it. There are specific areas where blockchain can be used. You can use this to settle securities trades. In fact, I'm a telecom jock. This has a great application in the Internet of Things because it resolves security, right? In payments, where A is paying B and they need to settle, you don't need this. In fact, the existing settlement systems are great. we are a small company. We settle instantly. There's no need for blockchain there. But having said that, you have regulators who are looking at it in specific verticals. In specific verticals. So, Blake, you have in things like securities trading, this is something that will definitely, have an impact. The Fed is looking at it. I think there's an ex-JP Morgan person who's, raised a lot of money. Yeah, that's right. She raised a lot of money doing blockchain for securities. And I think regulators are smart. They will figure out horses for courses. And in this case, there is no case for blockchain to come into some of the normal areas of banking. So they will just throw it out.
Let me answer the first question very briefly, very quickly about banks. As you said, from Roman times, banks have been there and they'll be there for the next 1,000 years. They'll just have to transform. Because if you look at the retail business, which is what we are talking about, we're not talking about institutional business here. Banks with consumers, and more so with the regular consumer, not high net worth consumer. What do they bring to the table that differentiates a financial institution from another? Research, the human interface, an individual who kind of develops trust with you, that they'll look after and be a custodian for your wealth. Third is lending. If you want some leverage on your portfolio, or you want a mortgage someday, blah blah blah, you can build a credit history with them, borrow for your car, etc., etc. I think a lot of that, all those kind of attributes that a bank brings to differentiate itself from another financial institution will get disrupted. Research, it's easily available. Research, firms that I've worked with spend billions on research. Then we outsourced it to India, some of the research, and got it done there to reduce costs. But research will become a commodity. You can have a webcast. Paying for research will as a differentiator will go down with fintech. It's happening. The human interface is important and will always stay important, but with the youth, it's less important because, again, the human interface has to be smarter than what's available in the space. Before, just because I had a Bloomberg and I read up something before visiting a client and I knew a little bit more about finance than the person across me, I was an expert. But that differential is going to go away with time. You have to be really ahead of the curve. And third is lending. Lending is going to become much easier. The bank is still going to lend, but the interface will be gone. A fintech platform can put 3 banks into competition to say, hey, who will give a better financing for a securities portfolio, for example. So not that banks are going to go out of business or any of that stuff. I mean, they've been around, they'll be around. They'll be there for the next hundreds of years. But they have to get more efficient and they have to cut costs, which is a good catalyst.
Other panelists?
Thank you. If I may just ask you to stay on stage for 1 more minute. I'd like to request our director, Professor Nanda, to again do a duty he's gotten rather used to. Thank
you very much for moderating.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So happy to meet you.
What a privilege.
He's my batchmate.
A very good evening. Thank you for coming here this evening. We've had a fantastic session this afternoon for many of you who were here. And we've had the High Commissioner and, well, I wouldn't even, let me not elicit the entire breadth of what was discussed earlier through the day. To kick things off, I will, just a note, our chair, Kamini Banga, who was supposed to deliver the welcome address for the evening, is unwell. And on her behalf, I'd like to call Namrata Kaul to deliver. Namrata is PGP 87.
London has emerged as one of the top tech ecosystems globally, but it seems like there's a very shallow connection.
Good evening to all of you. As Swastik mentioned, Kamini can't be here today, unfortunately. We're missing her, but I speak on her behalf and narrate her speech.
And for instance, your study was talking about how UK is the top country, right?
We have a very strong alumni base in London, about 500 strong, and really grateful that a lot of you are here today with us and have been with us since the morning. A very special welcome to our director, Ashish Nanda, and to the Dean of Alumni Relations, Arvind Sahai, who are keeping the flag of IIMA flying high as the best management school in India and one of the best in the world. The theme for today has been all about innovation, which has always been key to global growth. Technology stretching boundaries, empowering entrepreneurs and communities, and driving growth. A key area has been digital innovation in its broadest sense. In the UK, under David Cameron's leadership, we have seen the focus on creating an ecosystem to foster digital innovation. New hubs have sprung up all over the country, and at some point, these may be as powerful a source of digital businesses as Silicon Valley. 5,000 miles away, India too is burgeoning with ideas and innovation in the same space. In our time, IIT graduates wanted to come abroad to study and to work. Today, majority of them want to stay back. They want to start their own enterprises, and they want to innovate new business models. Last week, Prime Minister Modi was here. He's driving the Digital India as one of the key planks of his strategy to drive economic growth. More importantly, it can create millions of entrepreneurs and jobs, far more than manufacturing can. This is an area that UK and India can collaborate to mutual advantage. We have today had a galaxy of speakers, and they've talked about all these topics. We've heard from the High Commissioner, who touched upon the potential of India, as well as Digital India. We've heard from Honorable Sajid Javed, the Minister for Business, Innovation and Skills, and for whom innovation is very much in his job title itself. We've also had several entrepreneurs and leaders who have blazed a trail by establishing businesses which are constantly innovating, creating new business models, changing our lives for the better. In the spirit of innovation and use of technology, our keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Sikka, the dynamic first non-founder CEO of Infosys, will be beamed across from California, where he is today, to share his views with us. Unfortunately, due to a death in his family, he could not be with us in person today. We at the IIMA Alumni London chapter are daring to dream bigger and bolder. We are looking for new thrust area, and one of these is to help women in business. Much has been done over the years, but we have a situation in this country where only a handful of the UK FTSE 100 CEOs are women. And yet there is one country where 12 bank CEOs are women, and that happens to be India. We would like to see what we can learn from there, as well as other places, and all we can do to further the cause of women in business. There will be more on this topic in the future from us. The chapter is also keen to be more engaged in philanthropic activities. In the spirit of giving, we would like to promote the cause of Care India, a non-profit organization focused on providing education, health, and imparting vocational skills to women in marginalized communities in India. It is an affiliate of Care International and Care UK, and we look forward to associating more closely with them. There's some information available about Care outside, and we'd encourage you to have a look at it. We've had a very exciting day so far, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions that we have going forward now. Thank you again for being here. The IIMA London chapter is a very vibrant community. Please make sure you visit our website, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn pages to keep abreast of fireside chats, forums, debates and discussions, social events, and dine-out nights. Thank you very much again for being here.
Makeup of unicorns is mostly consumer, and that's UK.
Thanks, Namrata.
Fintech is starting.
I'd like to now call on Murthy Noni to just give a very brief overview of the next session. Murthy?
Their breakdown. And then you look at the capital raised between the two, I think it's something like 240 million is needed on the consumer side.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We started with this theme of innovation last year with our first conference titled Innovation Forum, where we featured the innovation centers of IIMA Ahmedabad, CIIE, where Professor Nanda and Professor Sahai were there to support us last year. And we also featured the innovation centers of Cambridge Enterprise, Imperial Innovations, and ISIS Innovations, Oxford. There, we had case discussions about innovation, cross-border innovations between India and the UK, where new products and technologies have been developed with collaboration from universities and companies in India, such as Lassen and Cobra. So we have scaled up this year to startups, unicorns, and global businesses. So you've seen 3 panels which were which are all covering this theme of innovation. We had a fantastic lineup of speakers for the panel. For the next session, we have a fantastic lineup of speakers for the debate on future of innovation in large companies such as Infosys, innovative startups, and we have VCs, Saul Klein and Manish Madhwani, who advises unicorns. We are also eager to hear from them the current state of the funding markets for the benefit of those in the audience who are about to take plunge into new startups. And we also would like to know what is the current state of the market, such as is it a bubble, about the IPO down rounds which are happening today, the Square IPO at $9 compared to the last series of Series E at 15.5. We also heard of bubble talk from Silicon Valley stalwarts, Bill Gurley of Benchmark and Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn. As per the last count of unicorns, there are over 140 unicorns as per the Fortune and CB Insights, totaling a market cap of $500 billion, which looks quite big considering that the NASDAQ Internet Index is about 1.3 trillion. So it will be interesting to see what the final panel thinks about the state of the current markets. We had totally 16 speakers in today in 4 panel discussions, of which 7 are entrepreneurs, 5 MNCs, and 4 venture capitalists. 2 have actually sold their businesses for multi-billion dollars. So it's been a fantastic session with a great set of speakers and panelists. So I hope you will enjoy the last panel discussion and also the keynote address from Vishal Sikka. Thank you very much.
And I mean, it's also now globally.
Thanks, Murthy. The first address this evening is by our very own director, Professor Ashish Nanda. Let me introduce him to you. A PGP 1983, Professor Nanda is director of IIMA. In addition to his administrative responsibilities, he teaches in the Executive Education, PGP, and PGP-X programs at the Institute. Before joining IIMA, he was a Robert Brauscher Professor of Practice at Harvard Law School for 7 years and a Harvard Business School faculty member for 13. Before his PhD from Harvard, he worked for 5 years with the Tata Group of companies with the Tata Administrative Services. Professor Nanda, during his current stint as director, has reinvigorated the ties with alumni over the last 2 years. We're delighted to have him here today, Professor Nanda.
It seemed to be our lives
Good evening. I am oh, that's my badge there. I am delighted to be here. Just, it's wonderful. I attended all the sessions and found them enormously educational. I also very much enjoyed meeting with some of you. Wish I could meet many more on the sidelines of the sessions. And it has been wonderful meeting some people here that I was really, in some cases, looking forward to, and in some cases had no idea they'd be coming. And so I want to please request Professor Mohan Kaul, my professor, to stand up. He is IIMA professor. He was... And you know what? It is just so appropriate that Professor Kaul has come here, because anything that people from my batch and thereabouts know about IT, it's because of Professor Kaul. I'm also thrilled and delighted that those 3 noisemakers back there have not forgotten their teenage years, my batchmates Ravi, Manita, and Mala. It is just wonderful to have you come to this session. I'm going to embarrass you, Nirmal, but I want to point you out as well. Nirmal is a wonderfully committed alum of the institution. There you are. Please stay standing for a little while. IIFL CEO, and he would come to IIMA every once in a while, and he would say, you know, you folks should have a swimming pool. And I would say, you know, our money is going for education of students and faculty and all that. Till finally last year he said, okay, we'll donate a swimming pool to you. So when you'll see a swimming pool next year, it's because of Nirmal's generosity. And let me also mention that I'm very happy that I'm speaking just before Dr. Sikka from Infosys. And I've had the opportunity to meet several people from Infosys, because Infosys Foundation, we had Narayan Murthy come visit us a little while ago, and he talked with the faculty, and we very much wanted him. He was, as some of you know, he was in our, I don't know what we used to call it, data EDP center, we used to call it. He was a research assistant or research fellow with Dr. Kaul and others. And then he came back as chairman of our board of governors. And he was our chairman during the fateful years, you will remember, when there was an attack on IIMA's autonomy. And he had actually been very, very instrumental in responding on behalf of the institute. And so Dr. Narayan Murthy came and talked with our faculty, and after that he said, you know, I really enjoy coming to IIMA. The students are very bright, the faculty are very committed. And next thing we know, Infosys Foundation had contributed a chair to our institute. So I want to acknowledge people from Infosys for their commitment to the institute. Thank you very much to the foundation for that. I am also thrilled and delighted to meet several of our younger alumni who are doing just outstanding work in the area interface of technology and innovation. I wanted to take a few minutes, if I have your permission here, to talk about the topic, which is innovation and entrepreneurship and how it relates to IIMA. And so, first of all, I think it's clear entrepreneurship, innovation is critical. That's been established from the times of the Nobel Prize winner Robert Solow, who discovered that economic growth, only a very small fraction of that can be explained by productivity, and a very large part of economic growth across countries, across nations, and over time is because of innovation. So it's important for economic growth, but I think it's particularly important for a country like India, and I think perhaps it was in our first or second session, reference was made to this, which is that we say we have a demographic dividend ahead of us. Lots of young people in the country who will be energetic, enthusiastic, and will contribute a lot. But we have to make sure that they are able to contribute in a positive, proactive, meaningful manner. And one of my worries over the last 2 years in India has been that a lot of people have been saying we have to create jobs for people. You know, when you create jobs for people, then people will race for those jobs. You will have situations like we recently had when some government jobs were set up and you had PhDs. These were chaprasi level jobs. And you had PhDs going for those jobs. I think what we have to create for people are opportunities so that they can flourish and they can contribute. And I think helping people be entrepreneurial is, and encouraging them to be entrepreneurial is the way to go. You look at